Well, it's election season, and during this time period, we are looking at and listening to candidates that are telling us what they want to do, how they want to represent you, and why they want to serve your community. It's Stay the Water. I'm your host, Dr. Eric Claville, and you're listening to our 2024 election series with Davy Smith III, candidate for Portsmouth City Council. We'll be right back in just a moment. Welcome back. It's Stay the Water. I'm your host, Dr. Eric Claville. As always, we want to thank you for joining us, as you always do, on this Sunday morning, as we enjoy this beautiful Sunday morning here in Hampton Roads, Virginia. For all of you that are listening across the country and across the world, thank you for supporting us as you do as we broadcast from the campus of the Norfolk State University, home of the Spartan Nation, from none other than WNSB Hot 91, the soul of VA. Before we continue, I just want to give our prayers and thoughts to all of those affected by the hurricane in Florida and beyond. And of course, it seems that they're going to get hit by another hurricane coming soon. So again, our prayers and our thoughts go up for them. If you're able to support any relief efforts, make sure you do so, and make sure that you continue to pray for the families that lost lives and those that have lost everything, because we know that it could be us, but for the grace of God. So make sure you give back, give your prayers, your thoughts, and if you can, give to support them. Also, I'd like to thank all of you that supported us as Norfolk State hosted the second U.S. Senate debate here, held on campus at the Norfolk State University. That's right. Last week, we hosted the U.S. Senate debate between U.S. Senator Tim Kaine and his Republican challenger, Han Cao, here at the Wilder Center here on Norfolk State's campus. We want to thank our broadcast partners, Wavy 10, also Nextdoor Corporation, and their national affiliate, News Nation. It was a phenomenal engagement of debate and questions, which, we had it here, and they were asking questions about the HBCUs, the support, student loans, and also reparations. That's why it's so important to have those conversations here at Norfolk State, because we're going to ask questions that usually are not asked in the mainstream. So we got the numbers back, and it was the number one broadcast here in Hampton Roads, the Richmond market, and across the country. It was seen by over 3.65 million viewers. So we're excited. Norfolk State was at the forefront of this important, very, very important discussion. And again, we couldn't have done it without your support, the Spartan Nation. So thank you so much for continuing to make Norfolk State number one. And also, this last Saturday, we also hosted, not this Saturday, but Saturday before last, we also hosted a town hall where we had local candidates and also our congressional candidates, both congressional for District 2 and 3, Missy Cotter-Smosso and Bobby Scott, U.S. Congressman Scott, and also candidates for mayor across all of the Hampton Roads area and City Council talk to us about why they want to represent us, give us their platform, and able to engage the voters. That was sponsored by the Alpha Phi Alpha and the AKA chapters here in the city, the graduate chapters, and also the undergraduate chapter here at Norfolk State University. And they allowed this Newt, this Kappa man, to actually moderate and bring it all together. So thank you so much to the AKs and the Alphas for the work that you do and ensuring that the voices of the people are heard. So with that being the case, we had the opportunity to engage many candidates for office, and one individual that we were able to engage, and I told him we wanted to have him on the show to talk about his career, his time in public service, and why he wants to continue to serve the public and move up in another position in order to be a public servant. And that's none other than Mr. Davy Smith III, who is a candidate for Portsmouth City Council. Mr. Smith, welcome to Stay the Water.
Hey, sir. Thank you so much, Doc, for having me on the show. It's a pleasure to be back at my alma mater and being able to talk and speak and share your platform to get my story out to not just the constituents of Portsmouth, but also to the nation, to let them know who I am.
Absolutely. Well, like I said, it's always good to have a Spartan back on the show, a very proud Spartan. O2 graduate running for Portsmouth City Council, holding a bachelor's in social work, and the co-owner of HBCU Nation. You are being deeply, deeply involved in the community. You've served on multiple advisory councils and commissions, and you're also not just a graduate of Norfolk State, but you are also a life member of Norfolk State University Alumni Association. So thank you for your support that you've given back to your institution. It's alums like you that allow us to continue to behold. So thank you so much for what you do for your alma mater. So with that being the case, I want to delve right into, who you are and why you want to continue to serve or move up to serve in this capacity. I mentioned that you served on a lot of commissions and so forth. If you could, tell the people a little bit about the work that you've already been doing in the community.
Well, I can reach back in my mind and think about when I was first started serving on the board's commission. This was Mayor Holly was living, and I worked on the Mayor's Committee for Personal Disabilities. And at that time, I was working in the field of HIV and AIDS as a case manager, those coming out of reentry. And it was at that point that I applied for 3 of the top boards in the city. And I applied for the Planning Commission, Economic Development, and Housing Authority. So I got interviewed. And once I got interviewed, Senator Lucas let me know once I got on the board, I became the youngest chairman of the Housing Authority, not the Housing Authority, but the Planning Commission.
Wow.
At the age of 31. So I made history in my city because that's never happened. And it was kind of like being that, how you have an aha moment that I understand how this works in this service. And I remember my football coach joking with me all the time, Coach Joe Langston, God rest his soul. He said, Davy, you're going to either be a politician or a preacher. And I said, here it is now, I'm running for public office. I said, how about that? Coach, you know what he was talking about, huh? and that experience, man, it got real exciting. And then I became the chairman at 38 years old of the Housing Authority. And, I grew up in public housing in Portsmouth, in Jeffrey Wilson Homes, which is no longer here. And when I was on the Planning Commission, I said, tear it down to make what you see now at Seaboard Square. So it's been a surreal moment. And it's people said to me, man, you've done all this work in almost 15 to 16 years. And I said, you know what, you're right. So I said, what better time than now, seeing what was going on in the city, to run? And I had a conversation with my wife. I prayed about it. And I was just waiting on the confirmation. I got the other confirmation from my wife. She said, go for it. And when I got my wife to sign off, man, I just took off. I took off, Doc.
Wow. You mentioned your family. You mentioned prayer. So your faith and family obviously plays a large part in your life and in your decision. I'm going to divert a little bit from your work and go to your faith and family. How important is it to have the support of your family, your wife, and your faith at the forefront?
Man, it's vital. It's very vital. It keeps you humble. It keeps you grounded. It also gives you that the reassurance, I have assurance with God, but then you get reassurance in those around you supporting you because you need a supporting cast. You need it. I remember General Short, matter of fact, your fraternity brother, General Short here in Portsmouth, said, Davy, you need to get a board of visitors. And he said, in a sense, treat yourself like a business. You got an advisor at the board. He said, your wife is at the board. Your spiritual advisor is at the board. Even your money person is at the board. But you got people that you're dealing with helping you run the corporation of Davy Smith III. And it's so vital. Just like we have a board of visitors with our organizations, we have, that with Kappa Alpha Psi and with Omega Psi Phi, we got those people in place.
Absolutely.
It's the things and the same things we have with the university. You got to have those things in place. So the model still comes back from ministry if you really go back to it. Not to be all preachy, but it is what it is. And you got to have some type of spiritual thing about you, and not to push my stuff on anybody else, anything like that. But it has to be a medium somewhere, something bigger than yourself. And just having a servant's heart. The servant leadership is a big thing.
It was very trendy at one time, but it holds true. Being a servant leader, a lot of people look to be a leader first, but they don't want to serve, right? They, they want to stay on the platform, but they don't want to be on the pews or picking up the trash, on under the pews first. You've done a lot of that service work. You've done a lot of the scrapping and the scraping in your community before even coming to this point. As you mentioned before, you sought, confirmation first in your faith and then your wife and family before even considering the run while you were still doing the work. Tell us a little bit more about the work that you had been doing outside of in the community. We know about the Planning Commission. We understand the Housing Authority. Those are very important commissions as it relates to the operation of the city. And we'll do a show later on about the importance of commissions and committees because the public needs to know that they can get involved too. But tell us what the work that you were doing in the community with the young people and so forth before even delving into the city.
Well, I did serve as a school teacher at one time. I worked at CSUP. I did that and with the at-risk youth, and that got bad when one of the kids attacked me. Had to get out of there, but I did that for a while. Also, I remember upon that, I got a chance to go back into the mental health field and be a therapeutic day treatment counselor, and I had a chance to work out in Suffolk at John F. Kennedy School. And what is amazing to me is I see those young people now, and they remembered me. Some of those people are working for state legislators and everything else. And they said, whatever you need, you let me know. And how powerful it is that they didn't forget. I remember working with the young people at Norfolk State when we had NYSP program. And I know you remember that National Youth Sports program. A lot of those young people I work with are grown now, so we're peers in a sense. They're in their 30s or in their late 20s, one of the two. And it's like, wow. And they still, my nickname, they call me Coach Money to this day. So having that degree in social work gave me, having that degree in social work gave me a chance to, in other words, like an octopus, put out your tentacles and find out my gifts. Had a chance to go back and coach at Norcom for a year at one time. I coached football for a moment. So it still kept me involved with young people. And that was really exciting. And right now I'm serving in the capacity, even on a local district, and you understand this being in the fraternity, and on the international level, I'm the fatherhood and mentoring vice chair for the state of Virginia, which is DC in the state of Virginia for the 3rd District. And I represent on the international level fatherhood and mentoring for the fraternity for the 3rd District, which is Virginia and DC. So I've been given the platform to get kids ready with my entrepreneur background that I have to get ready in career readiness. And I always say to them, before you go work for yourself, you got to learn to work with somebody or for somebody else. Mm-hmm. And I preach that to them all the time. Through my nonprofit, which is Action in Motion, which is a youth and young adult employment incubator with a concentration on entrepreneurship. And you and I both know small business is what make America tick. It ain't just the big pops; it's the small businesses in Hampton Roads that make Hampton Roads bump.
That's right,
and we know that. Yes, sir. So that's really how I got to where I am. And I played pro football too, by the way. I did play football at Norfolk State. I did very well. And I'll say this on there and I'll say it loud. I am applying for the Hall of Fame because I qualify because I played pro football. So I'm applying next year. So I'm going to put it out there and I'm going to claim it.
Well, listen, it seems like you put a lot of things out there and you make it happen. So it looks like we may have you back on as a Hall of Famer for Norfolk State as well. So very soon. Look, it's Stay the Water. I'm your host, Dr. Eric LaVille, and you're listening to our 2024 Election Series show. Here with us, we have Davy Smith III, NSU alum, and also Portsmouth native, working hard in the community and on commissions, applying and looking for your vote to be the next city councilman for the city of Portsmouth. Brother Davy, I want to delve into some of the issues that are facing Portsmouth. Why did you run for office and so forth? If I could, I want to ask you, of course, we see Portsmouth on television a lot, and a lot of times it's not in the best light. But we know that there are a lot of great things in the city of Portsmouth. And with that being the case, what do you think is the top challenge facing Portsmouth, and how would you work as a city councilman to address it?
Well, the top challenge facing the city of Portsmouth is a lack of community-focused leadership. This leads to many other challenges as a city. My first thought of addressing this challenge is to offer myself as a candidate for city council. Once elected, I will propose reestablishing council retreats to reinvest in relationship and team building amongst council members. Once we establish that interpersonal foundation, I believe that we can focus on creating a joint strategy and agenda that centers the community we are all elected to serve.
Absolutely. When we talk about the council retreat, do you believe that there should be more of a community focus from the council on the community and an internal focus on the council working together? Yes,
I do. I believe it does. And because from just what we've seen in the last 4 years, we've seen more dysfunction. And stuff sometimes, that needs to go on a closed session you're bringing out, and you see a lot of egos popping up. We do. We see it. I mean, it's kind of self-evident. Yeah. As grandma would say, or our parents would say, as a family, if we got something we discuss it as a family. We know how to discuss it in closed doors. That's what closed session is for. last time I checked, I served on boards when we got to discuss something that's really hot and heavy. We go in closed session and discuss it.
In other words, don't put your business out in the street until you get it right behind closed door.
There you go.
Well, listen. Look, because listen, we all got business out there, but just like any family, you get it right in the house first before we get out.
Right now.
I'm telling you, listen, your grandmother was wise, but my father and everybody else, we taught the same thing. Absolutely. Yes, so with that, I kind of want to delve a little deeper in there. So we brought up the city council. You mentioned the council retreats, and we kind of played around with the issue of the council and what we see on television. But with the city having long-standing history, and some people see it as perceived dysfunction on the city council and really within the city, how do you foresee you working civilly with your colleagues? Because just because you want to play nice don't mean everybody else want to play nice.
This is true. I experienced it when I was on the housing authority, and when we did have things of that nature, when we did disagree and have a little, discord, it would happen, right? I mean, it's part of the human process. But again, we have to come back to the middle, because that's what it is, and we got to get it back to the middle so we can move forward. And I remember reading the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. They said if you can show yourself friendly, you might win a friend. And at the end of the day, it's about the people's business. Whatever I got aside, I got to put it to the side. But I got to take care of this business in front of me. I go back to the football mentality where coach said, you got to get focused. I know stuff going on, but I need you to focus on the main thing. So we have an agenda in front of us by law. We got to follow what? The agenda. If something does come up, hey, let's defer it to the next meeting.
Absolutely.
And you've seen this happen not just in council meetings. We've seen this happen in our fraternity meetings. It's a such thing called good and welfare. It has a time for everything. There's a time and place for everything. You're about to make me go to the scripture of is it I can't even say it.
Ecclesiastes. That's it.
Yes, sir. You know where I'm trying to go there. You know where I'm trying to go. You know exactly where I'm trying to go. I couldn't get it out, but you know where I'm trying to go. It's a time for everything.
Go ahead. It's a time and place for everything. Absolutely.
Yes, sir. It is.
So, look, when we say a time and place for everything, and, you hit the nail on the head, because really when we start to look at the city, the business of the city, like you said, you've been on the Housing Authority and the Planning Commission. So,
yes, sir.
With the Planning Commission, tell us that particular commission actually works to plan out the city. And a lot of people don't know that. Really what happens, the city council, they kind of stamp it, but the planning commission do the hard work of planning how the city's going to grow. And then with the housing authority, it deals with public housing. So I want to delve into those two areas because your experience and your platform speaks to both. So let's first deal with affordable housing. You yourself is a product of public housing and also a great example of what can come out of public housing, because it has a negative connotation. Tell us a little bit more about your plan for affordable housing in the city of Portsmouth, because right now we are at a brink where we don't have enough housing or the housing is too expensive, and it's really pricing people out. And a city can't grow, a region can't grow unless we have affordable housing and good schools.
And you hit the nail on the head with that. And I could just give you some of the things that I've gathered in my research and my experience. A major component of my platform is to create more energy efficient, affordable housing in the city of Portsmouth. And I say it as a former chairman of the Planning Commission and also a commissioner of Newport Community Development Authority, where I live at. And then I served 4 years as a chairman, of course, as the Redevelopment Housing Authority. And I'll use Dale's Home for an example. I believe that Dale's Home is the former Bonneville site, also on Greenwood Drive. These are just some major areas that there's a lot of room, but it's blighted. Some of the areas are blighted. And then also we got 114 acres sitting here by Newport, where they're building some new townhomes right now. But what I cannot forget is we also got to get more senior homes. I had a lady interact with me today at the polls, a lady named Miss Pat. And she said, what y'all going to do for 71-year-olds and we need some houses? And I said, you got a great point. I said, one of the things we were working on when I was on the Housing Authority, we were trying to acquire the Bonneville site, and we wanted to build single-family homes on the front side. But on the back side, we were going to go vertical and build senior homes, senior housing, because we know there's a need. I know a lot of folks that moved out of Portsmouth that are seniors that would love to move back to their city if we have the proper housing. And you hear me hit again, the energy efficient housing is everything. You see how houses are being built now. We can use shipping containers. We can do modular homes. We can do 3D print homes. It's all there. I can even give you another example. Let's think about the S.H. Clark site on Turnpike Road. If we build a new school, they want a new school, we could take the rest of the property and we can build homes. That's a lot of acres sitting right there. Even though it's lined right up with Seaboard Square, it's still doable. We can still build a new school and still build a community with it. Those are the type of ideas that we need for Portsmouth to move forward. We have the developers, we have the builders, even the funding is there too, due to the way our city is set up. We have a high number when it comes to, I guess it's the word is disparities or disenfranchisement.
Absolutely.
So if the numbers are meeting there's grant money to help us get to where we need to be because of the situation. It's a lot of funding out there that we need to apply for, a lot of funding. I know we can do it.
That makes sense, right? I mean, it's very logical. It takes the city or any city for that part into a strategic and a logical step to grow, because now you create communities, because house is just not about a house. It's about creating communities. Why do you think that process hasn't been started or someone attempted it before now?
Well, you and I both know this happens. Gatekeeping. It happens. Sometimes, a lot of times, stuff can get blocked. Things can get pushed through. And just like you said, it goes back to the planning. I remember we did Bill 1 Portsmouth that enhancing the comprehensive plan of what we want to see in the city when I was the chair of the planning commission. And I see some of these things coming online, but some of the things haven't came online. Just think about this, for instance. Why has the old Academy Park in Newport, where I live at, sat vacant for so long? Because it got hung up in a tax and a bond thing. And I served on the board, so that's how I know that information. But now we got to find ways, okay, if I can bring in someone to, say, build on the rest of the 114 acres, on whoever's on this bond or whatever, okay, I've seen cities do it. Me and you both seen cities do it, where they would relax the taxes to bring in a new builder so we can't get an actual tax base.
That's right.
But because it happens all the time, to get the deal done, I've seen cities do it. I've been at the table, so I've seen it happen, so I know it's possible. Are we just picking and choosing who we work with, or do we just find viable people that's going to be a good business deal for the city?
Right.
And the people that's living in it.
Absolutely. Well, I want to segue from housing now into business, because, again, you've laid out a very logical and strategic plan for community homes. And we know one of the major parts of where businesses flock to the money, they flock to people. So what is your plan from your experience on Planning Commission to attract diverse businesses to those areas around those housing communities that you propose?
Well, can I speak to downtown for just a second?
Absolutely.
You and I both know downtowns are what makes a city viable.
Absolutely.
We have a true downtown. Ever since the tolls hit us, the downtown life in Portsmouth is there, but it's not what it used to be. We have to find a way to change the lighting downtown. What I loved about when I was on the commissions and when I went to the trainings, I would go to the downtowns. I would see what they were doing different and what could we use in our city. I would find time to try to talk to the economic development department, find time to talk to that housing to find out what are they doing different there, what we could use in Portsmouth. Those are the things we have to do. We have to get out of our backyard a lot of times. And it's okay to be a copycat, as long as you copy the right cat. You think about Norfolk. Norfolk is lit up at night, isn't it? When you go downtown Norfolk, it's lit up. They got lights everywhere. When I look at Portsmouth, it looks a little grim. It's old school, it has a great classic look, but let's light the city up. Because if we get our downtown and our business district back right, it spreads out throughout the rest of the city. It spreads over to the casino where they're going to build more stuff. It'll spread to Victory Crossing where they need to do more stuff. It'll spread throughout the city like a wildfire in the proper way. This type of wildfire we want to happen. And I don't want to use the term wildfire. Let me say this. The ripple effect. I'd rather use ripple effect. We're a water city, so tide water, you get where I'm going. We need to have a ripple effect in our city. And
Portsmouth
I really believe
Portsmouth can serve as a ripple, right?
Yeah, that's right. So we need that to happen. And I just use downtown for an example because you think about it, every business district has to pop in order for everything else around it to pop. Think about New York City. What does New York City do? It booms, right?
Because of the city.
That's right. What does D.C. do at night? Got a nightlife, right?
Absolutely.
We got stuff during the day, but you got to have some type of nightlife. Because if we got, like you said, we're trying to retain and keep our younger people here, I'm an Xennial. I call myself an Xennial. the X's and the millennials and the Y's and the Z's, and we keep going to keep those young people that want to work, live, and play. We got to create the environment for them.
Well, listen, with you at the helm, it seems like Portsmouth is on the way to a new renaissance. Brother Davy, in our last moments that we have several minutes left. I want you to just talk about your passion. You know, like you say, you've done the work in the community on the ground. You've done the work on the commissions, the planning and the commission and the housing authority. And now you want to serve and sit on that council of Portsmouth, where it's another challenge, you know, as we say it. And look, it's Sunday morning, so I'm going to go ahead and go with church. For every level, there's a different devil, right?
Yes, sir.
And look, as you go higher, it's going to get harder. And as we all know, you know, it's lonely at the top because many people don't travel that direction or they give up. So in our closing moments, tell us about your passion, how you continue to plan to move, even though it's going to be hard. What is driving you to stay at the top, to go to the top?
Well, one thing I remember my mentor saying, you can't buy heart. You can't buy heart. You can't find it at Walmart. And I think it's just something inside of me that's been born within my DNA to be a fighter. I was a premature baby coming into the world. So they said I'm always been fighting. That's what I've been told. I've always been a fighter. The nurse told it to my late father, Percy A. Jones. And he said, you were a fighter. And I was the type of person, if you tell me I can't do something, I'll smile. And as Grandma would say, I can show you better than I can tell you. But I got a fire lit up in me, as they say we're in church, shot up in my bones, as Grandma would say. And I'm on fire for my city. I'm on fire for the people in my city, because we deserve better and we deserve more. And I just believe in my heart that with the people's help and the people's vote, that I'm going to get one of those 3 seats to be on city council to help move the city forward. And as I say in my message all the time, we have to recalibrate, we have to realign, refocus, and reestablish our city. And we're doing great things, but we got to go higher. We have to go higher. As TC said, you can go anywhere from here. I say in Portsmouth, you only can go up from here.
Absolutely. And that is Davy Smith III, running for your vote to serve on the Portsmouth City Council, one of the 3 seats. Tell us where we can find more about you and your campaign.
Well, you can check me out on Instagram at Davy for Portsmouth, DAVY for Portsmouth, F-O-R, and then the word Portsmouth. I ain't got to spell all that out, but y'all know what it is, Davy for Portsmouth. You can find me on Instagram, and on Facebook, you can find me at Davy Smith III for Portsmouth City Council.
You can find him on Facebook, you can find him on Instagram, and you can get involved in his campaign. That is Davy Smith III running for Portsmouth City Council. And I want to encourage everybody, make sure you go out and vote. You can vote now. Early voting has started. Early voting has started. You can go out and vote. Go to your local registrar's office, cast your vote, and you can also vote on the day of election, November 5th. So until next time, be good, be great, God bless, and we'll see you next week.
Hi, I'm Carrie Washington, and you're listening to State of the Water with award-winning host Dr. Eric Claville.